Hey, everybody, we're back again live with another great show. And the man on my right is someone that, if you regularly watch Zennie 62 on YouTube, and you should, or read oaklandnewsnow.com, and you should, he is Tree. Go. Tree, how you doing?
Try, actually. I'm
doing. I do that all the time. It's okay,
man. It's okay. You're the first one ever, Zennie.
I'm the first one ever to do that mistake, or like consistently.
Yeah. No, I'm teasing you. No,
that's all right. I like to be first at things, so that's cool.
I appreciate the apology, though. Thank you.
You got it. And welcome to my new format using StreamYard, and this is fantastic. We got 3 visitors already watching it. Hey, everybody, welcome. And as you know, my format, I make sure that my guest talks more than I do. Try is running for Oakland City Council District 1. In fact, just came off of a candidates forum held, I believe, 2 weeks ago.
Something like that. Yeah, I feel like 2 weeks ago. I think that's right.
Yeah. And we're going to catch up, but we're going to talk about what he is going to talk about with us, you and I.
Yeah, let's have a discussion. I'd like that.
About Oakland in COVID-19 environment. Tree, what's happening, and how are we doing from your perspective?
Try, Zennie. Try.
I do that again. I will try to get it right.
Thank you. No, it's all good. It's all good. What's going on? You know, it's I don't know if you can tell. I have a little bit more facial hair than last time.
And I can tell. Yeah, especially the photograph.
But that's no excuse, actually, because I shave. I should be shaving. Right? But just trying out a look. I'm amazed by how generous and loving people are, during this time. I think that's the most amazing thing. And Oakland has always had that sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it's surprising and not surprising, I would say.
Hey, how is the city doing in its response to this? Pro and con, in your view?
I think it on the whole, it's doing great. It's we were right out there with the other Bay Area cities and announcing the lockdown. I mean, it's kind of a loaded term, the shelter in place or the social distancing measure. And I found out that partially it was because they listened to the scientists, which I am one. So obviously a fan of listening to scientists, right? Politics. So I'm partial to that, and it made a difference, right? It made a difference.
Absolutely.
I think we have like maybe 50 deaths in this area or something around that number. Like it's pretty small in the Bay Area. So it's pretty low. I could be wrong on that. I haven't checked it recently, but that's good.
Hey.
I've been hearing. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, please. Don't want to interrupt. I want to make sure.
I recently have been, people are concerned about racial disparities in health outcomes, and I'm concerned with that. I'd like to look more into that myself as a brown man. I'm interested. And probably there's a lot there to uncover regarding, there's a lot to learn, a lot to learn.
What's life like? How are you quarantining? How are you sheltering in place? I mean, obviously you've got you've elected to grow facial hair.
Yeah, it's November. It came early. I'm kind of an introvert, to be honest. I'm not the typical politician. Every politician likes to say that, but I'm like a 50-50 kind of person, and I feel like I have something to contribute, and so I kind of got out of my shell in order to run for office. But I'm doing relatively okay. It's nice to be able to just be in one spot and just like focus and think and not be running around. That's nice. I mean, I love meeting people as well, and we are doing that on Zoom. But it's not too bad for me. There's also I exercise regularly. I went for a run today. I've been meditating. It's beautiful weather now. It's like someone said it was like 80 degrees yesterday.
Yeah.
The air is extra clean, I think, because people aren't driving. We have this slow streets program where people are, able to use it. So I'm hanging in there. I need some more hugs though. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that.
You think somebody would actually have a sort of a I don't know, how would you do that though? You wouldn't.
No, don't go there.
Moving along.
Yeah.
How are people doing psychologically?
I think it has to do with whether or not you're an introvert or an extrovert. I mean, I'm not so much for labels, but if you really identify with like, oh, I need to meet people, then you're gonna point that thing out as like the thing that's causing the pain. And I think it depends on the person. As a whole, I feel like people are hanging in there pretty well, and I think Zoom has been helping. Or what we're doing right now has been a lot. You can really connect with people.
It made it possible to develop a virtual NFL draft. Hey, has this caused you to alter any aspect of the way you think about how you would approach running the city of Oakland as the representative of District 1?
The answer is no, and I'm encouraged by it. There was a special council meeting, I think it was on March 27th, where they passed a couple measures. They passed that, what was it, eviction moratorium. That was one of the things. And that was, I don't know if it was the first one in a while to be held on Zoom or something. There was 300 attendees.
Yes.
I don't know the last council meeting that had 300 attendees.
I counted. According to I got this Latanda Simmons. She had posted that there were 1,000 originally.
Wow.
Viewers.
Yeah.
And then I got it from her, and I passed it to Rebecca, who put it on her blog post on my blog.
Yeah.
And Latanda saw it and thought it came from Rebecca and said she didn't know where Rebecca came from. I didn't have the heart to tell her it actually came from her circuitously. I guess she forgot what she posted on Facebook. But nonetheless, numbers aside, it's very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason for that is, like I said earlier in a previous interview, but I think the viewers should know, I got into this because I love Oakland, and then I see homelessness just increasing. And it is hard. I think a homeless man knocked on our door today asking for money. It breaks my heart, man. It does.
Go ahead.
And then people are just stressed. People are increasingly stressed. They don't feel a sense of ease. They don't feel a sense of ease. If you have a house, even if you're sheltered, even if you have a shelter, you're not homeless. You're not rich enough, and cost of living is high. There's this it kind of saps the vitality out of the city. And my brother used to live here. My little brother. We grew up together in Atlanta, and we grew up together. Yeah, obviously we're brothers, but he couldn't. I remember him saying, "This place is not for the middle class." It made me really angry. I'm like, wait, we're in this. You're my brother. I'm not saying that. You shouldn't be saying that. And then, I was like, okay, I'm an optimist. That's why, and then slowly I'm like, whoa, wait a second. This is a problem.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, Derek Sue, who happens to be running for mayor, but just in interest of disclosure, he sent me a video, which I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But you mentioned homelessness, and it broke your heart. And something that he had said the police did. You want to watch that with me now, and maybe you can get your. Sure. Okay, cool. All right. And by the way, I'll get to PJ. I'll get to your question. One of my constant viewers is kind enough to type in a question. He's Mr. Engagement on Zennie 62. I appreciate that. So yeah, let me get this right here. And
For sure.
Let's put this so I can put this out. Let's see if I can. Oh, here it is. And it's by someone like Candace. All right, there that is. All right, cool. And now that I've got that, I'll go back to StreamYard and go to share screen. And where is it? It says Facebook. There it is. Allow. There it is. Okay, so let's start this. And now, I have not seen this before, but apparently what Candace Elder reports is Part 1 police just rolled up and arrested 2 of the village in Oakland, #Feed the People's, unhoused outreach workers in the East Oakland Collective parking lot. They just came back from distributing food, water, and supplies to the unhoused, getting hotel rooms for emergency shelter, and were planning to meet at our office. Guns were drawn, and then it reads, the helicopter was out, handcuffed or detained, threatened to be tased. Wow. This is how Oakland Police treats its essential workers, helping those in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. If you would like to support, okay, so let me go and now run this video. Yes.
Yes, sirs. We are official Alameda County outreach workers for the homeless. Like, I have documentation in my laptop right now. You see that Audi, you see this Audi, you see 3 Audis. We're all part of the same group. We're all part of the same group.
Why do you have your weapons drawn on him? They have weapons drawn on him. They don't even know who he is.
They already said they're going to tase him.
We just did outreach to the homeless. We just came out to the streets. They can tell you what it is. It's not what you're calling them, that's for sure. They got weapons on here, Yana, and there's Yana don't speak trash out of the car.
Yeah, we got one of our friends arrested right here.
This is how they fucking just rolled up on us after we provided food, provided sanitation to the homeless, putting homeless folks. Look at another cop. What the fuck, y'all?
This is EOC's parking lot right now. This is fucking ridiculous. They got a helicopter right there. They got his tasers on them.
Look how they doing this to y'all. Make this shit viral, y'all. Share this. Let everyone see how OPD is getting down to Oakland's front lines of workers.
This is fucking nuts. This is EOC's parking lot right now. They just rolled up in the fucking parking lot with on the homies, on our outreach workers. This is ridiculous.
Why are you detaining him? Why are you detaining him? Why are you detaining him?
Jesus.
How do I do it? How do I put my head? Ah! My motherfucking Lord! Oh! Ow! Ah! You called it by the wrong name. It's a case of my name is Leon Good, you son of a bitch. My name is Leon Good. Leon Van 812. Get your goddamn hands on. Listen. Get your goddamn hands on. What you want to do is
We got it. We got all of it. We got all of it, brother.
Leon Good. Leon Van LG 812. You got me back up. I twist you all up. You got me in my face. You get
Out of her vehicle.
Get on it.
This is what's happening right now.
You're gonna roll you up on the 148 of California Penal Code.
Oh, wow.
Don't instruct me. I got a radio.
Y'all saw that, right? I'm instructing you by telling you what's happening. Look at this shit. This is how we treat the village outreach workers right now. We was out in the encampments and they rolled up on us in the East Oakland Collective parking lot. And that's how they did it. They don't even know this brother's name. They're calling him by an entirely different name, y'all. We just were up in the encampments, providing people with shelter. We got people moving to hotels.
We got Yana.
We got folks food. We got folks sanitation, and this is how they do our outreach with us, right here. This is crazy, y'all. The folks who are just turning in, village outreach workers just finished an entire day of doing service in the encampment, providing food and sanitation and drinking water, getting people food for their pets, and moving people into hotels. And we rolled up into the East Oakland Collective parking lot, and this is what happened. And they grabbed Yana Johnson, who's one of our volunteer EMTs, out of her car and into that pool. She's in the back of that pool car now, and then they dragged this brother out. They didn't even call him by his real right name. They have no idea who he is, and said he has a warrant for his arrest. They have no idea who he is.
I'm going to stop this right here, mainly because it's 9 minutes.
Yeah,
It's quite long.
yeah.
But I think we've got the gist of it. So,
I want
what are your,
yeah, my initial reaction is there's a lot of anger, obviously, and a lot of frustration, and there, very, I mean, clearly that was a pretty. They used force to, arrest him, and I don't really know what was the cause of it. I didn't see any clear crime that was committed, so I don't know. I
saw one right off the bat.
A crime. I know. I mean, the crime.
No, I mean not on. I saw one right off the bat in terms of a crime that was committed, but it wasn't by him.
Okay.
The police did not read him his rights.
Gotcha. Yep.
All right. In any situation, I don't care what happens, the police should read their Miranda rights. I understand there's case law that allows them to skirt it, but the whole point is the reasons they do it so often with such impunity that the public allows it, but they are supposed to read you your Miranda rights.
Right.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. Not afford an attorney when one will be provided for you.
Right.
And so
yeah,
they didn't read him his rights. They just were more intent on being violent toward him.
It's such a, the whole thing just
Because he's black.
And he's black, you said.
And they did it because he's black.
Because he's black.
Yeah.
God, that's rough. I've spent a big chunk of my life trying to get past, my own insecurities around my race and my, I want to, and now, I've gotten past those, and I'm really proud of who I am. And I want to move towards a world where, race isn't an issue, but it is still an issue because it's just it's ingrained in our society now. It looks, the whole story, the way I see this is there are these people who, these workers who are trying to distribute food to the homeless, and a segment of the population that I think a lot of people feel are not loved, and big chunk of those people are people of color. And here they are trying to help. And then the police roll up and they arrest the guy, clearly not loving what they're doing and not loving who they are. Right. And so it's at the same time, I don't think anyone would argue for a city that has no police. Like, I think in order to have a society where we're not all vigilantes protecting our own property, there has to be some law enforcement. And so what it says to me is there is no trust between citizens and OPD, and we need to restore that trust.
How?
It starts with conversation, I think. And we have citizen, community policing already programs, and I don't know who attends those. They have these regular meetings where a police officer talks to the community, and we have to make sure that those meetings are accessible. We need to expand that program, and yeah, we need to expand that program. We need more conversation between the police and the community. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Okay, my thought basically is this: those guys should be fired, and I'll tell you why. I don't know about you, but people who are hardwired to arrest somebody because they're black are mentally ill. If we have police officers who are like that in the city of Oakland, they need to be removed from the city of Oakland, if not the United States, and sent someplace where they can clear their mind. I don't care if we pay them to have a vacation in Hawaii so that they're not dangerous to somebody else if their mind is right. But people who do that are mentally ill. Racism is an Oxford Dictionary listed pathological bias mental illness.
Yeah.
No joke. Okay. So I hear people talking about dialogue and all this stuff. Forget the dialogue. You have to start policing the police. And if they didn't read him his rights, they said that they were calling him by another name. All right. Which means they were just profiling him. So they racially profiled him. And then you have this one guy standing out there like he's, standing guard over people. And in the video, and how do we know, where's this guy? This was like this fellow who was standing here like he was that guy. And then he turns around and
we got it. We got all of it. We got all of
this
it, brother.
guy. And whatever his problem is, this guy is he's like being the shield between them. And it's like, what's going on? So, and the problem is that there is this assumption that he had to have done something wrong. And we have to remove that from our thinking.
I mean, if we find out that he did nothing wrong,
then they should be fired.
They should be fired, of course.
Straight out. You asked me. Okay.
Yeah, no.
And without hesitation.
But I'm looking at this and it doesn't make sense to me, the whole scenario. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's because it's nonsensical.
Yeah. So I'm just like, how? And if that's the case, and then of course I would support them being fired, of course, but I don't know the full story, and I'm not one to, just watch a video and just make conclusions.
Well, you know what? You might try, because here's the thing. That kind of approach is why we have a society that sustains behavior like that. Okay. And it's not, you asked me for my opinion. We'd say we'll have a discussion. Okay. In my humble view, it is not intelligent to try to intellectualize violence done by somebody else by saying, I don't know. If you don't like what you see, you have to change it.
Yes, absolutely.
Period. End of story. It's not a matter of, I have to find out, because you're giving them power. Why? Because they're the police. Those individual gentlemen could be psychologically messed up. Did they go through appropriate test? Is there a test to determine whether or not they're racist? If so, administer the test, and then if they don't pass it, remove them. We have a police force where I think there was one gentleman, Asian, that was indicted for using under the color of being a police officer, murdering a person,
right,
to carry out a hit. All right, that's in our city.
Sorry, repeat that one more time. He was under the cover of a police officer. He used that to murder someone?
Yeah, to carry out a murder. And so he was like the police of Chinatown, as I recall. I don't know the story
right
in detail. I saw the headline in his photograph. It was enough to make me throw up.
I mean, I don't support that. And don't get me wrong, Zennie. I'm not saying that I see violence and I don't take action. That is not what I'm saying either.
I understand.
That is not what I'm saying at all. I do not support police brutality. No, I do not.
And it's upsetting. It's upsetting.
But I'm not going to say, I believe in justice and I believe in fairness. And I'm not going to just, off the bat, like say, even though I have there's overwhelming evidence, right, that they use too much force, but I'm not going to conclude, jump to the conclusion that they should be fired unless
I will straight out. You do not allow anybody to not read somebody else the Miranda rights. Okay? You don't do that. All right? That is something. You do that, you allow us to have a military police state. And all that stuff about the democratic socialist and all that goes out the window, because because I think democratic socialists don't really quite understand how the United States works until they're actually confronted with these realities. All right. All right. Get rid of the labels and start understanding the as Abraham Lincoln put it in the Gettysburg Address, the hard facts that created America. That's one of them.
Right. How do you know he wasn't he wasn't read his rights before that?
Because they dragged him out of the car. All you have to do is look at the video.
Well,
they dragged him out of the car.
Open.
He was not detained. They pulled the gun. They pulled the gun at him.
Right. No, I do not like that.
My point is,
no, that is not cool. Absolutely not.
Right. So my point is, you don't have to. You don't. I mean, what I'm saying is, what you need to, in my humble opinion, remove from your mind is the idea that you have to rubber stamp something that you see an officer do just because they're in blue.
Oh, you're saying I'm giving them the benefit of. You're saying I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because they're
automatic. When you try to explain something that they did without having the explanation from them, you're doing them a favor. Have them explain it. Put them under the hot light and say, "Look, hey, what the heck is going on?"
Right.
Period. End of story. Why did it take so many people to do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay.
That's
and fair. And whatever he did, if you don't have the evidence that he did it, make sure you get it. But maybe it's not the right time to take out that action. All right. There's some police officers, and I say this because, for example, I told the late Jeff Adachi this, and we talked about it right here on my show. I went to the Balboa Cafe. This was 2006, and the Balboa is owned by our current governor, by the way, or he was owned. In those days, if you ever wanted to find a potential wife, you went on Thursday night because you knew that Gavin would be there, and you knew that some of the most eligible bachelorettes in the Bay Area would be there. Okay, so I was there. I went back home. I had maybe a couple of cocktails. A guy was tailgating me across the bridge. I don't know why. 80 miles per hour. I'm thinking, how do I get rid of him? So I see a highway patrol officer over here. I go deliberately put myself in front of the officer. Instead of taking off after the guy was speeding to my left, they're behind me. When we get off the bridge, they put off their lights. I told them what was happening. They said, okay, we'll have you up. They had me up like this. I'm thinking they're going to arrest me. So my tears started flowing. So the officer said to me, are you going to do that? Then he body slams me on the hood of his squad car. All right. Then he wrote a police report that said that I delayed arrest. And so therefore I wasn't remanded. I was supposed to be only remanded for 3 hours. I wasn't even over the limit. My attorney was my friend on Facebook now, Bill Dubois. We had him come to the court twice They took it off, made it a wet reckless, and I believe it's dismissed. But well, it should be twice. He did not show up because he knew he was wrong. And I'm going to get this guy's name and talk about him because I should have done that then, but now I can. I have a large media outlet. Okay, he was wrong. And my point is, if you don't take action against people like that, you have to see them as criminals, regardless of whether or not they're police officers. Period. End of story. You can't do that. You allow that kind of behavior to go on.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't prosecute officers who clearly do something wrong. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm sorry that happened to you, you know, and it's super frustrating as to be treated differently because of your race. And, you know, all we want is just fairness. You know, you weren't doing anything.
No, all I want is not so much fairness. I want people, you said, it's impossible for people not to think about race. We do so positively. Somebody says, hey, man, they may like me because the color of my skin, some lady might say that to me or whatever. Fine. I might be interested in a Celtic dancer. That's it.
Oh.
Yeah. Tree, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a little hiccup. Anyway, what I was saying is we all may have our stuff, right? But to represent race positively is a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But my point is we have to drill people to see that as a positive. And they have a bias, say, hey, look, they have a bias, and explain what their bias is all about. But this stuff is crazy. And they're all white. You didn't see a black police officer in there.
I didn't. And they're
all white.
Yeah. I didn't.
This is crazy. It's got to stop. The only way to make it stop is say, you know what? That's not going to happen.
I mean, are we going to have only black police officers?
It's not a matter of having black. You know why? It's a matter of having people. Look, I know white women who are blacker than I am. All right, who see race at a level that I don't.
Right.
And I've learned. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even folks like me have our biases that I'm aware of, that I grew up with, because the way that I was treated by my own folks when I was little.
Wait, hold on. Repeat that. I didn't get that.
Oh, sure. I was beaten up when I grew up in Chicago for doing two things. I didn't fight well. I didn't want to fight. I was in a Star Trek. I was what they now call a nerd.
Okay.
All right.
I love nerds, Zennie.
Yeah, and see, I didn't find out it was okay to be a nerd until we came to Oakland April 8th of 1974, and then I met Bill Boyd and now the late Lars Frickman, my buddy who died 2 years ago, and we started the Star Trek Club at Bret Hart, and I was the president.
Awesome.
And then I was at Skyline, the first black president of the Bike Club, and so my point is, but they're both white. And my point is, you have to find people in this world. And they are there.
They are there.
You know, all over the place. There's so many of them that it makes behavior like that inexcusable, and it makes it okay for us to say, you know what, that should not stand.
Growing up, I was told by my dad, you have to work twice as hard as a brown man to be accepted by, Americans, but I could hear implied white Americans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you're not surprised by this statement, right?
No, that's the way I grew up.
Yeah. So I worked my ass off, it worked. I went to MIT. I have a PhD. I worked at Tesla, but I always felt like there was something missing.
Hey, I got to ask you, by the way.
Yeah.
How did you like MIT? Because I applied there for grad school. I wound up coming to Cal.
Oh, that was good too. I'm being a politician right now, right? So MIT was amazing, man.
Go Bears.
MIT was amazing. First test I took, I flunked it. I got like 20 out of like 100 on a physics test. It like really, it was my dream school, and everyone, I don't know how to describe it. It's a small school. It's in Cambridge. Everyone is smart, and they're smarter than you. I wasn't used to that. I came from a small public school, not a small public school, but like a normal sized public school in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, Tucker High School.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, man, I know. And then so I
didn't know that. I don't know this place. I know Cal. I know California.
So anyway, so yeah, Tucker High School. When I applied to Georgia State, Georgia Tech, UGA, and then I applied to MIT. I didn't even fill out the last page, which was the financial aid application. I didn't fill it out. You know why? There was no way I was going to get into MIT, dude. No way. That is the stuff of movies. I didn't know anything. Dude, nobody from my school knew what MIT was. And then I just did it, and I was a pretty well-rounded person. I played sports, played soccer. I grew up with a brother with cerebral palsy. I don't know if I told you this.
No.
Yeah, so this is a huge part of my life. In addition to being a brown man who had to work twice as hard to be accepted, my older brother, 2 years older than me, he has cerebral palsy, like severely, and I took care of him growing up. So talk about not having a childhood. That's the story I have. Like kind of resenting it. And so at times resenting it, because as a kid you just want to have fun. So when I got into MIT, it was all that life story got me into MIT. Of being like president of like various clubs and going, playing sports and having an older brother with cerebral palsy, and being salutatorian of my school. That definitely got me in. And so it was a dream come true. And it was a very humbling experience because everyone was so freaking smart there. It definitely it definitely bruised my ego. I'll tell you that much. And people there are, a huge chunk of them they called it East Campus. It was West Campus and East Campus. It was divided by Massachusetts Avenue. And East Campus was, the Trekkies and they had these parties that were, oh man, like, they had lots of crazy parties, very Burning Man-esque, very free thinking. I myself haven't been to Burning Man, but I have, just to give you an idea of like the counterculture that existed, lots. Yeah, it was cool. It was, some of my heroes were there. I was a big Linux nerd, right? I don't know if you know what Linux is, but
programming language.
Yeah,
I've
always been into freedom and
the Linux server.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It's open source software, and
Afraid it is.
huh?
I said I'm afraid it is. No, my the blog, my Oakland News Now blog, and my Zennie62.com server is Linux.
Yep, exactly. So I was using that in 8th grade, so I know what being a nerd is. And so it was cool because you can program something and then someone else can take it and modify it freely. It's not like Windows. And I've always been drawn to freedom, and that's basically why I'm running for office. I want to make sure that everyone's represented. I want to ensure that I'm not convinced we are. We meaning the people who care about, ending homelessness, ending having affordable housing. I have yet to find someone who says that homelessness is a good idea.
Yeah.
Why is that not reflected?
I did meet one person, but go ahead.
Yeah, that person should be fired.
Well, she actually is homeless, and she I believe she's in one of my videos, but the whole point is she came to Oakland City Council with that idea, and
good idea.
That she made a speech about homelessness should be
Legal. It is legal.
not not stigmatized.
I don't
is
think
what
it should be
getting at.
stigmatized. I
Yeah.
don't think. I absolutely don't think that.
And yeah. So anyway, but I didn't want to prolong that. So
Yeah.
how was your debate with Councilmember Kalb and Walton, and what did you get out of that, and where
I
are
mean,
you now in your candidacy? You know.
Yeah. What did I get out of it? I mean, it was the first time I had a debate, and so I got a ton of experience. I don't get a strong sense of vision from the other candidates,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please. Yeah.
I hear a lot of, I've done a lot of things in the past. I've heard that. I hear a lot of, I'm the right person for this job kind of stuff, you know? But I do not see a vision of Oakland where everyone is taken care of. I do not see a vision of local government that leads to a vision of Oakland where everyone is taken care of. I do not see that. And I'm not convinced that if you just swap out one person for another, it makes any difference. We're talking about structural systemic issues here. We're not talking about people not working hard enough. I'm sure there are plenty of council members who are working their butt off, you know? That's not the problem. The problem is the voices who are demanding that we do something about homelessness, that we do something about affordable housing. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I understand. I've been there. It happened.
Those voices are not being heard loudly enough, and it's because it's difficult to get through. If you're not organized, political, you don't have an organized political machine. You don't have a ton of money. You're working like nonstop. You get home, you're tired. You just want to hug your kids. Like, how can you possibly stand up for yourself? You know, and I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to get those voices into government. I'm willing, not just by, speaking for them, but actually lower the barriers to engagement. The Zoom call was great. 300 people, 1,000 people. Why aren't we doing that normally? And so, yeah, to go back to the quarantine thing.
Yeah, something else. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do something else. It's.
I said that was something else. Yeah, you're absolutely like.
Yeah. And so to tell you, my vision of government is everyone is involved. Everyone is involved in some way. When you don't execute plans, when you don't pass urgent action on homelessness, you're out. Mm-hmm. You're out. You can't be in there for 8 years. You can't. That's not acceptable. And we don't even know if the action. We do know the action isn't efficient. The action, the policies that we're choosing on homelessness and housing are not sufficient for the situation. It's not doing anything. Homelessness has increased 50% from the past 2 years. So you can talk a lot and you can wait. We can wait. That's what people say. Let's just wait. Like you said, you can't. To your point, only actions make a difference.
What about the? I want to read this to you. I don't want to surprise you or anything. This is actually, it's from the Oakland Chamber of Commerce, and the title is "Tell Oakland City Council Not to Abuse Its Emergency Powers."
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
100%. 100%. Look at that. Like, what does that do? It sows distrust. It causes distrust is what it causes. And okay, so what? Why does that matter? When you have distrust, you stop being engaged. Do you hang out with people you distrust? Mm-hmm. No. They don't hear what you have to say. So I'm 100% with their position. It's kind of funny because I associate Chamber of Commerce with like a Republican thing, which I don't I don't always align myself with.
I have a question from PJ, and Rocky Mounties. He asks a question: since you're running for Oakland City Council, what would you have done to convince the Raiders to stay in Oakland, and what do you want the city to do as far as keeping the A's in Oakland?
Right. So, we offered the Raiders a lot of money and they left, right? And having sports teams is definitely a matter of civic pride. People want the A's. People love the Raiders. What could I have done differently? It's a complicated situation. It's the top priorities are taking care of our citizens, taking care of our homeless, making sure people feel at ease. People feel they can enjoy their lives, and that stacks up next to whether we can keep these teams, because like you said before, it's a math problem. We need to figure out what is the expected economic output, we will give them some tax breaks. The city will use some money. Oh my goodness, my roommate. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something.
Did you order Instacart?
I did. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be right there.
Will you go get it?
Hey, Tree. Hey, tell your roommate to support you from running.
I know.
Hey, support the man. He's running for office. What are you doing?
Who's that?
Support the man. He's running for office. He's running for city council. You're not showing him support. What kind of roommate are you? Talking to you. That's your roommate? Jeez Louise, man, get a new roommate.
We won't be for much longer. It's okay. Bree's out there.
Support the man for running. He's running for office. Come on and support him.
Great. Oh my goodness. Sorry, Zennie. 1 second.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh my goodness.
Are you there?
I am here. Can I run off for 1 second?
Oh yeah, you gotta take some. I'm right here. Yeah, we'll come right back. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Whenever you're doing something, folks, and you know somebody that's running for city council, don't interrupt their interview with me. I will let you know that you're wrong. You should always support people. It is hard to run for office. Okay, it is really hard. And so there are people, when people do that sort of thing, it's kind of like, hey, forget you're running for office. I got my thing. Well, that's wrong. We need more people running for office, not afraid to run for office. And I can't say enough for the effort that Tree is putting in, and Stephanie and others. And so we should always make sure that you're supporting them. But like what that person should have done is, hey, he's on an interview. Guess what? Come back or text him, right? Or say, oops, sorry, right? Or better yet, what I would have done. Hey, support this man for Oakland City Council District 1. That's what you do. But, okay. So we've had a number of people. Hey, sorry. What I was saying to the viewers is that I said, if you are in a situation where your roommate is running for office, support the roommate and make sure that you tell everybody, support, in this case, try to run for Oakland City Council District 1, because that's, and I hope she heard me, because that's what, she should be behind you 1,000%. Otherwise, it's not a good roommate. Forget it. End of story,
Everyone has their situation.
Well, yeah, but you got to fight for your right to run for office.
Oh, I am. I'm running.
Yeah, okay.
But I appreciate it, Zennie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that person should be behind you 1,000,000%. I don't care. We have to. I'm big on this, because what's going on in the society is that we have people who they want their own private Idaho, and they don't care about what you're doing. They got their thing. Well, they got to care about what you're doing, because running for office is hard. That's what I was telling people. Running for office is hard.
It's very hard. Yeah.
Right. And it's a noble cause to want to represent the thoughts, dreams, needs, and emotions of thousands or millions of people. And that's what you're trying to do. Your roommate should honor that. Period. End of story. I don't care what their roommate's situation is. I don't care.
Right.
What you're doing is huge. And that person should know. It's like, oh, I'll be back. I'm sorry. And then say, hey, support this man. He can change Oakland. That's what your roommate should do. And I hope your roommate sees this. Okay. Dong it. I don't like that. I'm sorry. That's just me, man.
I feel you, Zennie. I feel you. You're like way far away, and you're like, yeah, that's what I meant to. No, hey. I'm teasing you. Yeah, no, you're totally right. You're totally right. Anyways, let's move on. So again, with the A's, right? We have to see what the expected economic output is, what the benefit to the community is, what the cost might be, if there is a trade-off. If there's not, I don't know. And why don't we figure that out? I'm not a spreadsheet. So let's put it together and see what the package is. Just like every other contract you sign, every other negotiation. It's not like we have one or the other. Like I agree with that. Let's just see. And we have to do the math, and also the city of Oakland might not have as much money, coming up because of the COVID crisis.
And that gets to my next question. There are restaurants closing. Gaylord's on 41st, which is just outside your area. There are other restaurants on Rockridge that just closed permanently. What do we do to help these businesses? And is it what we're doing right now enough?
I think it would be interesting if we could find ways to for the community to invest directly in these businesses. Is what we're doing enough in terms of what are you saying? Like I don't.
In order to save the businesses that are closing, which really represent our culture, because the one thing is in Oakland that is not here, we have a lot of chains here. And the chains can survive in different ways that independents cannot.
Yeah, like small businesses.
In Oakland, we have more independents than chains.
Right. Right.
That's why I ask. What in your estimation should we do?
It's tricky because the government, the city itself, doesn't have more money to pour into these businesses. At least that's what I think. Unless we we find money in the budget that hasn't been spent, or we raise new revenue. I think a quicker solution, and I've seen this happen, is the community rallies around these businesses, and this is not a government. This is not something that the government does. It's something that the people who love that business do. They create a Kickstarter and then they keep it running. And so I think we can always do more. There is the moratorium on evictions, which I think it also affects commercial property owners as well. So that's helpful. Yeah, but it's a tough situation.
It certainly is. In interest of your time, because I was 51 minutes, I can keep going. I want to know how much more time you've got.
I can talk a little bit more, maybe like 2 more minutes or so. Yeah.
You got it. Cool. Definitely. In the 2 minutes, because 2 minutes is like a smidgen of time. Tell people how they can support you. Tell people what you're all about, man. What's happening?
We've been waiting too long. I'm a refugee. A brown man who has had to work hard to feel a sense of acceptance. And that's not actually where you get a sense of acceptance. It's, I recently came to accept who I am fully. And am proud of who I am. And I want to make sure that everyone feels that sense of pride. Everyone feels that sense of love. And when we look out into Oakland, what we see is homelessness. What we see is housing insecurity. And, I'm committed to creating an Oakland where everyone feels loved. And to do that, we have to have a local government where everyone is heard. And I don't believe that that's what we have. And so I'd like for people to vote for me for Oakland City Council and for District 1, because I'm committed to a local government where everyone is engaged and everyone is part of the solution. We need all these voices to come together so that drastic actions on housing and homelessness can't be blocked by a small vocal minority. And that's what we need to do. And that's the only way to do it. And so I'd like to ask people to join this campaign. They can go to votetry.com. I'd like for them to volunteer for this movement. I'd like for them to donate to the campaign. We accept only $35 per person because we're committed to hearing all voices. We're committed to getting that base of support so that we can actually make a difference. And yeah, that's what I stand for. I'm committed to an Oakland that works for everyone.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Hey, stick around. Don't go anywhere, Try.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, but this is not the last time we have a conversation. Subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube, bookmark, and also subscribe to the newsletter for oaklandnewsnow.com. This video will be automatically placed on oaklandnewsnow.com. It will automatically be placed on social media as well, and several news aggregators all automatically within minutes after this broadcast ends. The only daily news blog in Oakland and perhaps the Bay Area, and definitely the most technologically advanced. All right, Treat, stick around. Hey, thanks everybody. We'll see you. All right.